Welcome, Seeker. They say, there's an eye that sees beyond the veil, an eye not of flesh, but of spirit, an eye that does not merely look, but knows. What if the reality you see is but a shadow of a deeper truth? What if behind the fabric of appearances there exists a vision so pure, so piercing, that it could dissolve the illusion itself? This is not fantasy. This is the mystery of the third eye, the inner gateway perception unfiltered, unbound, and unbroken by time. Welcome, Seeker. Tonight, we open the sealed door of forgotten temple not in stone or desert, but within you. We will not speak of the third eye as a symbol or superstition, but as a living principle, ancient as the stars and intimate as your own breath. In this journey, we'll trace its lineage to the temples of Egypt, the scriptures of India, and the secret teachings of mystics who saw beyond the physical. We'll unveil why this knowledge was hidden, why it was feared, and how it was encoded in symbols across ages. We'll explore the true function of the third eye, not as a mystical organ of fantasy, but as a precise spiritual technology for awakening inner clarity, vision, and direct experience of truth. More than that, we will apply it, because knowledge without experience is just another dream. We will uncover how to activate, purify, and align this subtle center perception through breath, attention, intention, and silence, and how, once opened, it can become the compass that guides you through illusion into the heart of the real. But I must warn you, what we uncover here may change how you see everything. For once the inner eye opens, it cannot be closed. Now, are you ready to see? Let's begin. To understand the third eye, we must first step out of the modern mind and into the ancient world. In the temples of ancient Kemet, what we now call Egypt, the third eye was not a metaphor. It was a living symbol, encoded into sacred architecture, mythology, and ritual. The Eye of Horus, often mistaken as just a cultural motif, was in fact a deeply sophisticated diagram of human consciousness. Each part of the eye represented a specific sensory function, but together they pointed to something beyond the senses, a sixth sense, a direct knowing, reserved only for initiates of the inner mysteries. This was not unique to Egypt. In the Vedas, the oldest scriptures of India, the third eye is called the Ajna Chakra, the seat of inner command. It was said to be the bridge between thought and transcendence, the portal through which sages received divine vision, and yogis pierced the veil of illusion known as Maya. In Tibet, it was called the Eye of Wisdom. Among the Gnostics, it was the single eye spoken by Christ when he said, "If thine eye be single, thy whole body should be full of light." This is no coincidence. Across civilizations that never physically touched, the same teaching emerges again and again, that human perception has a hidden aperture, a spiritual lens, through which the higher truths of existence can be seen. But why was this knowledge buried? Because the third eye is liberation, and liberation threatens control. When you see through the illusion, through dogma, through propaganda, through fear, you become sovereign, no longer manipulated by appearances. You begin to perceive what mystics call gnosis, direct knowing. And those who govern through fear, hierarchy, or illusion have always had reason to suppress that. So, the teachings went underground, hidden in symbols, protected by secret orders, veiled in allegory. Alchemy spoke of the eye of the dragon. Freemasonry veiled it within the all-seeing eye. Kabbalists called it the ADH, the hidden sapphire of divine knowledge. But the deeper reason for its obscurity is subtler still, because the third eye cannot be understood by the rational mind. It is not something to be studied, but realized. It opens not by intellect, but by inner alignment. And for that, the initiate must be ready. Not merely curious, but devoted. This is why it has been called the eye that opens when the self disappears. The ego cannot look through it. Only presence can. It is the eye of stillness, of silence, of the subtle. And it begins to awaken the moment you start listening more than grasping. So while the knowledge was hidden from the world, it was never truly gone. It remained in sacred texts, whispered in dreams, encoded in our own biology, waiting not for the right time, but for the right frequency. And now, in a world louder and more distracted than ever, more seekers are being drawn inward to the original screen, not made of pixels, but perception itself. You're not just remembering ancient history, you're remembering yourself. Let us now leave the realm of myth and step into the mystery itself. What is the third eye? On the surface, it's often associated with the pineal gland, a tiny pine cone-shaped structure nestled deep within the brain, between the two hemispheres. Ancient cultures seem to know of its importance long before modern science ever mapped it. Why else would sacred art across the world depict pine cone imagery held aloft by deities in Sumer, on staffs in Mesopotamia, even carved into Vatican's architecture? But to reduce the third eye to a gland is to miss the point entirely. The pineal gland is not the third eye. It is a physical correlate of a non-physical function. The third eye is a mode of perception, a way of seeing not with your eyes, but through them. It is a lens that reveals the unseen layers of reality, the energetic, the symbolic, the sacred. You begin to notice that everything speaks not in words, but in signs. A glance from a stranger holds a message. A dream lingers, more real than the day. You feel when something is off before it ever shows on the surface. This is the subtle awakening of the third eye, perception beyond form, awareness beyond logic. But here's the paradox. The more you try to force it open, the more it closes, because the third eye is not activated through effort. It unfolds through surrender. You must learn to see without seeking, to observe without judgment, to receive without grasping. The ancient mystics called this opening the eye of the heart, because the third eye is not about gaining power, it's about returning to presence. Think of it like tuning a radio. The station is always broadcasting, but you have to tune your receiver. Static thoughts, emotional noise, egoic attachments, they all blur the signal. But when you become still, when you quiet the internal chatter, suddenly a new world comes into focus. And what you see through this inner lens is not just the hidden dimension of the world, but the hidden dimension of yourself. The masks drop, the illusions dissolve, and what remains is truth. Not the truth someone told you, not the truth that fits in a doctrine, but the kind of truth that cannot be spoken, only lived. This is why sages throughout time have described a moment of awakening where the veil lifts or the scales fall from the eyes. It's not metaphor. It's the moment when inner and outer reality align, and you realize they were never separate. As above, so below. As within, so without. These are not poetic phrases. They are descriptions of how reality is seen through the awakened eye. So what blocks it? Distraction, fear, attachment to identity. The endless chase for external validation. As long as your attention is scattered, your vision will be too. But focus it inward, not to escape the world, but to see it truly, and the third eye begins to stir. This is not magic. This is the nature of awareness when it becomes whole. And now, here's where the journey deepens. Next, we'll explore the hidden paradoxes of third eye, awakening the dangers of false openings, the illusions that arise within illusion, and why some awaken just enough to become more trapped. We'll also unveil secret teachings, rarely spoken in public, about the serpent energy, the role of light and darkness in the inner eye, and why true vision begins, not with sight, but with sacrifice. So, if this resonates, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or experiences, because your insight maybe the key someone else needs to awaken. And now, when you're ready, say the word, and we'll descend deeper into the mystery. The eye opens wider, the light becomes clearer, and the shadows more revealing. Let us now move deeper, past the threshold of curiosity and into the labyrinth of paradox. Because here's the strange and often unspoken truth. Not all awakenings lead to liberation. Some lead only to illusion within illusion. When the third eye begins to open, it doesn't simply show you light, it shows you everything. And that includes the shadows you refuse to face, your fears, your attachments, the false identities you've worn like armor. This is why many retreat. They glimpse the truth, but it's too much. So they turn back, clinging tighter to their beliefs, mistaking the first flicker of awakening for the full flame. They speak of being enlightened while still chained by ego. You see, a partial opening of the third eye can be more dangerous than no opening at all. Because with partial sight, you still don't see clearly, but now you believe that you do. This is what ancient mystics warned against. The path of the false seer. The one who perceives symbols, energies, even other realms, but interprets them through a distorted lens. That lens is the ego, still intact, now dressed in spiritual robes. But the true third eye doesn't flatter your identity. It dismantles it. It dissolves the illusion that you are separate from the world, that your thoughts are truth, that your story is all there is. It strips away everything that isn't essential until only essence remains. And to reach that essence, you must pass through fire. This is where the ancient symbol of the serpent comes in. Often misunderstood, the serpent was never a symbol of evil in esoteric traditions. It was a symbol of transformation, of death and rebirth, of kundalini, the coiled energy at the base of your spine, which when awakened, rises to the chakras and strikes the third eye, like lightning. In Egyptian iconography, the uraeus serpent on the brow of the pharaoh represented divine vision, awakened consciousness, sovereignty over the illusion. But here's the secret no one tells you. The serpent doesn't just rise. It tests you. It slithers through your fears. It sheds your skins. And in doing so, it asks a brutal question. What are you willing to let die so that you may see? Because the third eye is not merely a portal, it is a funeral pyre. It burns away the false, and only the courageous endure that fire. This is a role of sacrifice in awakening. You may have to give up certainty, your worldview, your comfort, sometimes even your mind as you once knew it, because vision comes at a cost. And yet, once that cost is paid, what you gain is beyond comprehension. You begin to see reality as alive. Symbols dance around you. Synchronicities become your language. You no longer need to ask if you're on the right path, because the path begins speaking to you. Time feels less like a straight line, more like a spiral. Dreams bleed into waking life. And the question of what is real becomes not a philosophical exercise, but a daily revelation. Some call this madness, but those who know, they call it clarity. And still, the third eye keeps unfolding because it is not a destination. It is a doorway, and beyond that doorway lies limitless perception. The sages knew this. The initiates lived this, and now you are remembering it. In the next section, we'll step out of philosophy and into practice. We'll explore real techniques to tune your awareness, activate the sacred centers, and cleanse the veils that block your sight. You'll learn what the ancient seers actually did to cultivate inner vision, how breath, sound, light, and silence became their tools to pierce the unseen. So if you're ready to experience what we've been speaking of, stay with me. And if this journey is stirring something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave a comment below. Let the community become your temple. Let your voice become part of the ritual. When you're ready, we'll step into the sacred chamber of application, where wisdom becomes experience and insight becomes transformation. Now that we've journeyed through myth, meaning, and mystery, it's time to embody the knowledge. Because the third eye is not meant to be understood, it is meant to be experienced. And that experience begins within you, in the sacred temple of your own being. Let's start simple. 1. The breath of clarity. Pranayama for the Ajna chakra. Ancient yogis discovered that the breath is the bridge between body and spirit, between conscious and unconscious. One of their most sacred tools, Nadi Shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. It's said to purify the energetic channels, the Ida and Pingala. So the Sushumna, the central channel aligned with the third eye, can awaken. Here's how you do it. Sit comfortably, spine erect, with your right thumb. Close your right nostril and inhale through the left. Close the left nostril with your ring finger. Release the right and exhale. Inhale through the right nostril, then switch again. Continue for 7 to 10 cycles. This balances the brain hemispheres, calms the nervous system, and primes the inner eye. But breath is only the beginning. 2. Sacred sound. The mantra of vision. The ancients knew that sound shapes reality. The vibration of AUM or OM was considered the sound of creation, and its resonance aligns deeply with the third eye. Chanting AUM aloud, then internally, is more than a ritual. It is a tuning fork for your consciousness. Try this. Inhale deeply. Exhale with a long, slow AUM, feeling it vibrate through your skull. Visualize the sound spiraling into your brow, like a beam of light. Repeat for a few minutes. You'll begin to feel pressure, heat, or tingling in the space between your brows. That is activation. 3. The flame within. Tritaka meditation, used by Indian seers. Tritaka is a practice of gazing at a candle flame without blinking. It sharpens focus, burns away mental chatter, and stimulates the third eye directly. Here's how. Light a candle in a dark room. Place it eye level, a few feet away. Gaze into the flame without blinking for as long as you can. Then close your eyes and observe the afterimage in your mind's eye. As you train this, you'll begin to see geometric shapes, flashes of color, or symbolic visions. This is the inner screen activating. But remember, activation is not the same as awakening. To awaken the third eye, you must live differently. Which brings us to the final and most powerful practice. For radical presence, the third eye thrives not on escape, but on awareness. It opens not through fantasy, but through presence. Begin to observe your thoughts as clouds in the sky appearing, drifting, disappearing. Do not identify. Just watch. This practice witness consciousness is the daily ritual of the mystic. You will notice more, feel deeper, see the layers beneath appearances. This is not imagination. This is true sight. 5. Pitfalls and protections. Let's be honest. This path is not without danger. Opening yourself too quickly through force methods, psychedelics, or misinformation can unearth psychic overload or ego inflation. To stay grounded, do these 3 things regularly. Spend time in nature. Earth balances the sky. Engage in acts of kindness. Compassion anchors vision. Journal your insights. The written word stabilizes the energetic influx. And above all, stay humble. Because the more you see, the more you realize how much there is to see. Awakening the third eye is not about becoming special. It's about becoming whole. A clear mirror for the light. A silent witness to the real. Practice these tools. Work with them over time. Not with urgency, but reverence. And you will notice the world will begin to shift. Not because it has changed, but because you have. Next, we'll gather everything we've discovered, tie the threads of symbol, story, and self into a final reflection that will linger in the soul. But before we enter the last chamber of this journey, if this path resonates, if these truths stir something ancient in your heart, then let the circle remain unbroken. Leave a comment below and share your experience. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not just to follow, but to remember. So, what is the third eye, really? Is it a mystical organ nestled between the brows, a gateway to higher perception, or simply a poetic metaphor for deeper awareness? The truth is, it is all of these and more. The third eye is not something you gain, it's something you reclaim. It is a sight you were born with before the world told you what to see, before filters of fear, distraction, and doubt clouded your inner lens. It is the eye of the soul, the part of you that doesn't just look, but sees. When it opens, colors become richer. Synchronicities emerge. You begin to sense connections between things once thought separate. You no longer see just what is, but what underlies it. Truth, energy, intention, and essence. And with that vision comes responsibility. Because when you see more, you are called to be more compassionate, more present, more aligned with something greater than yourself. And this is where the mystery reveals its greatest secret. The third eye is not just about seeing the invisible. It is about becoming the visible expression of the invisible. It's about living as a beacon, a reminder to others that there is more to life than what meets the eye. So I ask you now, what would your life look like if you began to see with clarity beyond thought? If you listen not just with ears, but with intuition? If you walk the world with sacred sight? Not tomorrow, not when you're ready, but now, because the eye is already open. You only need to remember how to look. If this exploration has stirred something within you, some echo of forgotten, knowing, then let this be your sign. Leave a comment and share your thoughts. And if you wish to continue walking the hidden path, subscribe. There are more mysteries to uncover, more truths to reclaim, more light to remember. Until next time, keep your gaze inward and your heart wide open. The world is far more enchanted than they told you, and you are far more powerful than you've been led to believe.